Okay, so Taj is hosting both groups at her condo to decide whether or not they're going to co-headline. So Coco poses the question to Kandi, since Kandi was the one last week that had the objection to co-headlining. Lily says, we should just do it. It's a moment in history. Let's just co-headline together. And then Coco poses the question to Kandi and says, okay, Kandi, what do you think? So before Kandi could really even say anything, Tasha interjects and says, yeah, we're just gonna co-headline. I mean, that's just the way to do it. We're just gonna co-headline. So of course, SWV is happy. And even though I didn't agree with Kandi's delivery necessarily last week, it wasn't Tasha's place to determine whether or not Xscape had agreed to co-headline. She's been absent from the group the entire time in terms of her input, in terms of her presence. So it was not her place to say yay or nay as to whether or not they were going to co-headline. So I know Kandi was probably filming inside like, hell, you gonna really roll up in here and make a decision like this when we've been begging you to say anything towards your intentions with the group? Come on now. So there was really no arguments. I mean, Kandi really couldn't come behind that because then she would have looked even worse than she did last week. So the assumption is they are going to co-headline. I thought it was nice to see Tamika being the one taking the lead on the creative aspect of the show. She's always kind of, when they were younger, kind of played the background, let her big sister take over. But it was nice to see her working with the guy, Steve, who's over the creative process. Now, the only thing is, and we're going to see it later in the episode, is that Tamika got to realize that it's a budget for a reason. It's a budget for a reason. But I like her enthusiasm. I like some of her ideas. Some of them were a little bit outlandish, but I got where she was going with it. But Tasha was seething. She was so angry because she used to be the one in charge of the creative process, how everything looked on stage, the flow of the music. That was all Tasha. So now Tamika is stepping into that role, and Tasha's looking at her like, what are you doing? And of course, in the B-roll footage, Tasha is gaslighting, basically saying, I used to be in charge of all that, but it's fine if Tamika takes over. She's already kind of ruined the sisterhood anyways. Tasha wants to be the one. She wants to be the chosen one for everything. And when she does not get that, that jealous spirit comes out in just a nasty way. So question, do you feel like Tasha was out of line by making the decision to co-headline on Xscape's behalf? Or do you think that she really shouldn't have an input because she has been blowing the group off? Okay, so it was decided that for this particular concert, Coco, Kandi, and Tasha will be in charge of music choice and music flow. So they all meet up at the studio to kind of discuss their ideas. Now, Kandi is being inclusive with Tasha and saying, hey, what do you think about this song? Well, Tasha's just like, I hadn't really thought about it. Well, you knew we were getting together to discuss this, but you hadn't thought about it. I just been real busy. Now, here's where we part company. Say what you will to me about Kandi. Kandi stay doing something. I can almost bet anything that Tasha's schedule doesn't mimic Kandi's schedule in any way, form, or fashion. For Tasha to say, I just been really busy. Okay, you're working on your solo project. Gotcha. But you should be able to multitask and throw in your other obligations to make all of it come together. That's what being a businesswoman is all about. This is what you wanted. This is a part of it. You don't get to just work on one thing at a time if you're looking to amass a certain amount of success. One thing I liked about this scene was that Coco brought her son Jay with her. Jay doesn't want to do dentistry anymore. He wants to be in the music industry. Even though she's not 100% in with his idea of making music a career choice, she kind of brought him along so he could see the process of structuring a show. Okay, so then we see Jay, Coco, and Taj get together to kind of pick out outfits. Rashida got a little recognition because they showed her store pressed on this particular episode. So Jay, Coco, and Taj are kind of looking at clothes. So Coco uses this as a moment to bring up the whole dentistry situation with Taj, to get Taj's viewpoint on things. Taj had great advice, basically saying, hey, Jay, this music industry thing is not that easy, and you can do both. Finish out school and still attack the music thing. So if for whatever reason you wanted to step away from music or it's not going the way that you had anticipated, you got dentistry there to fall back on. But I think Jay he's got his sights set on doing music right now. That for him, Mama Tiva's advice probably was the best, which was, listen, take a year off of school, go attack this music thing real hard. But now if it ain't, starting to bloom and turn out to be what you want it to be, then you need to go ahead and finish school. I think that's a fair compromise, putting the ball back into his court letting him appear as though he's taking charge of his life. Let him attack the music. You know, if nothing pops off within a year, then that's the agreement to finish school. This was also a good segment because it touched on mental health. They did it last week and as well as this week. Apparently, you know, Jay has some struggles with depression from time to time, and Coko was saying that pretty much why she can come off overprotective of him because she has dealt with depression and mental health. It was good for them to show that because Black people don't always talk about getting the help that is needed professionally when you're dealing with mental health. So I was glad to hear, you know, that Jay does have a therapist, and he did say that that did help him out, you know, some while he was in school. Okay, so what do y'all think? Is Tasha really busy? Like, I know she's making a solo album, but is she too busy to be able to do her solo thing and Xscape? And what do you think about Jay? Do you think that Taj gave him good advice? Do you agree with Coko? Or do you agree with Mama Tiba, who said, you know, take a year off of school, throw yourself into this music thing, and if it doesn't pan out, you need to finish school? So what do y'all think? All right, so the last segment was Kandi, Tamika, and Tiny rehearsing. Now, Tasha is supposed to be there. They're asking, I think she's the road manager, like, you know, where's Tasha? Is she coming? And she's just like, well, you know, she won't be here for sound check and all of that. Kandi is upset. She's kind of like going off saying that Tasha is treating them like Gladys Knight and the Pips, which she is. The only problem I had with this was I know that Tasha is their group mate. However, Tasha is still Tamika's sister. Kandi was justified in how she was feeling. It's almost like even though Tamika and Tasha are at odds right now, there's still a part of her that's just like, that's my sister. And you can even tell in her confessionals that she kind of has to fight that feeling and keep reminding herself that this is business. But Kandi was like doubling down on we shouldn't even be dealing with this. And they shouldn't. Tasha is taking advantage of the situation. After that segment, we see Tasha and Rocky at Tasha's house, and Rocky's calling her down to sign her contract. Tasha is ecstatic. And under normal circumstances, she should be. But I don't think that this television show is helping her solo career. When the first episode came out, I was just like, okay, could there possibly be a way for her to take this newfound fame, if you want to call it that, and turn it around in a positive way? But as the weeks go by, and I think this is episode 4, it's done nothing but gotten worse. So the fact that she's signing her contract and Motown's going to take a chance on her, people sign contracts every day. That doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. If she's able to figure out her way out of all of this mess, seems like she has a pretty good contract to start because she'll be able to own her own masters, but who's going to be buying her music? Church folk don't always buy your music, and especially if your name is already caught up in some mess in reality TV world, because they don't respect that. Rocky's asking her, like, you know, what's the future of Xscape? And, you know, she's acting like, you know, she's like really torn or whatever. I'm like, Tasha, the dramatics is a bit much. We'll see what happens with her, but it's Kandi, Tiny, and Tamika rehearsing. Tamika does one of Tasha's parts, and Tamika sounds amazing. You know, you don't really even miss Tasha's voice. So it's really like, if they can all walk away amicably, I say just walk away peacefully. Tasha has her sights on this solo career. If the solo thing don't work out and she comes back, that would have to be a different discussion. Because if she wants out at this point, the way she's going about, because she could do both. I mean, it's not like she's about to be booked and busy in the gospel world every day. Let's just be honest. So she really could swing both. But if she's making a decision, drawing a line in the sand and saying like, this is what she wants to do, and that's it, and, you know, she's getting away from the group once and for all, then stay away. That's it. Okay, so question. As a fan at this point, do you care if Tasha continues with the group? Or are you okay with Tamika performing Tasha's lead vocals?